Okay, so before we start drawing with the pen tool, I just wanted to explain one thing, warn you guys that the pen tool is not easy to use. It takes some getting used to, and so don't be frustrated with yourself. It uses these little dots called anchor points, and the curves that connect each point, each anchor point together are called Bezier curves, and they have these little handlebars on each side called direction lines. Okay, now I just want to introduce the vocabulary to you, and then I'm going to show you. Okay, going back to our image here, I want to hide my mug so it's not a distraction because we're drawing the mug later. We're going to do the awning first. So I'm going to hide that layer. Oh, I have to make sure, is it locked? Hide. And then make sure that the mug layer is selected so that when I start drawing a vector shape, it's going to appear on a layer right above that. So grabbing my pen tool. And then one other thing I have to make sure to check is up here in the options bar, I want to pick shape. Because if it's a path, then there's not going to be any color filled in. A path itself is kind of like a coloring page. It's just the lines with no color inside. But I want this shape to have color, a fill color. So I picked that, and then the book suggested we start from the number 2 on 2 inches on our ruler here. And what I'm going to do actually is pull out a guide just so that I can make sure to keep my awning level. And I'm going to pull out 2 guides actually. So I'm going to show you in a second why. I'm going to start drawing outside the canvas, like off in the gray area, just because I want to make sure that the shape covers the whole image, so and like extends beyond it. So I'm going to start there and then draw my first point. So when you click your first point, it doesn't look like much has happened. A little square appears, which is my first anchor point. And when you click your second one, don't let go. Click and hold and then drag the mouse. And as you drag, you'll start to see the direction lines come out, and you'll see your Bezier curve taking shape. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit because it's kind of hard to see. All right, I'm doing Control plus, like we learned earlier. Actually, that's a little bit too close because I want to be able to see where I'm going. And so that's my first and second anchor point. Now my third anchor point, I want to go back to that line. There we go. And if yours doesn't look perfect, you can always go Control Z, or you can move them around by holding Command or Control. While you hold Control, you are able to move each anchor point. And what's happening right now is that my mouse is getting confused if I'm trying to select my Bezier point or my ruler. So I can hide my rulers. If you guys remember from last week, it was Control semicolon hides your guides. And so now if I hold Control, I can move my each anchor point separately and their direction lines. Okay. I want to get my ruler back and continue drawing so that I can make my next point. So click and hold and drag until you get the right arc that you want. And what happens is the color is going to constantly try to fill from the starting point to the last point that you drew. So don't worry if the color looks like a little bit off. In the end, when you close the whole shape, it'll look good. So I'm moving over to draw my next point, and I want it to kind of be the same distance. If I really wanted to, I could measure out rulers all the way across so that each arc is going to be roughly the same point. That's very tedious. I don't think, as long as you can eyeball it pretty good, then it's fine.